Alright, hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal, a project channel here at YouTube, and welcome to, of course, Wednesday's review. Now, since last Wednesday, I, of course, took a look at the EP from Shitstormtrooper. This week, for, of course, this Wednesday here, I, of course, decided to go at least a release back. That, of course, is me taking a look at, of course, the split release between Shitstormtrooper and Active Shooter, which of course is this right here. Now, this split was released, of course, back on January 30th of 2019, and it was, of course, was a split again between these two bands, and also between the two labels for at least the two bands here. Shitstormtrooper being, of course, courtesy of Baby Rakin Records, whereas Active Shooter being courtesy of Unnecessary Evil. So, prior to, of course, with me reviewing this split, I, of course, the first half of here will just be me looking at Shitstormtrooper's part of it, whereas the second half will then, of course, be me looking at Active Shooter. So, without further ado, let's definitely get into, of course, this split release between these two power violence bands. Alright, so Shitstormtrooper, again, we are starting off with, of course, this right here. Alright, so when it comes to at least the Shitstormtrooper's first half of this split, the songs here, there's about at least 7 songs here. The first song, of course, is titled The Euthanasia of American Retail, I think is what it says here. Track number 2 is I Want to Be Best Friends with Michael Stipe. 3 is, of course, is titled Murder Zoo. Track number 4 is, of course, is titled An Analysis of the Sad State of Affairs of Italian National Soccer. Track number 5 is titled Sleep Paralysis. Track number 6 is titled About Foreign Lands and People, which is a Robert Schumann cover. And, of course, number 7, which is the last portion, at least for Shitstormer's part here, is titled Gallo Recalde. I think that's what it says here. Again, I'm looking off at least I'm reading off the cassette here, and definitely some of the words being tiny. Also, even with the best glasses here, I have a little bit, as for some reason, I can tell some of the, it's just for some reason a little bit difficult to read, but I think, who knows, I probably did the best that I could to actually read these. Alright. So between these 7 tracks here, compared to at least the stuff they would do, of course, or at least songs that they would write for at least the EP, these are definitely, I mean, it's very similar when it comes, of course, Shitstormer here. It's very, seems to be all similar, but there are some differences. And one of the main the things that really stick out with, of course, Shitstormtrooper's part of this split is the fact that each of these 7 songs here seem to really open up with a recorded message intro of this, at least of this lady. I kind of forgot what was the whole topic of what she's trying to recall and some of her situation. It seemed completely, it's like almost rambling at times because of it. It's so at times almost confusing what the fuck she's even saying. I mean, for at least her story part, probably because of, again, it was a first listen take. Well, come to this, but that's all it just seems to be. It's like it's like what, only a few seconds at least snippet of these recordings, and again we get the song, and it always seems to always kind of continue within each of these beginnings here for these songs here. And again, it just seems to recount of some sort of situation within her. But I don't know whether or not if these recordings were actually real audio phone recordings, or if these were just made for this split here. But anyways, they are definitely, it just, I guess in some ways it tends to really kind of work for so long. It definitely, again, these songs are short. I mean, when it comes again to this realm of power violence, which is almost kind of, the more I listen and check out more of the power violence genre, it seems to really have a lot of similarities to, of course, early grindcore and hardcore punk. It really tends to have that kind of thing going on. I wouldn't say metalcore. It's not like how metalcore was in the early, in its early stages, but definitely with Shitstormtrooper, it definitely had, when listening to these bands between, again, Shitstormtrooper and IPV, it tends to really be it tends to really have way more hardcore punk influences, and at times even here with a little dash of grindcore, but for sure Shitstormtrooper really have just a little bit more of that hardcore punk influence, of course, again, being very much female fronted. Again, these are just, again, these are fine tracks. I would say still, I think I'd still kind of prefer, at least, I think the EP is probably some of the best stuff, at least, I would say, from Shitstormtrooper. But here, these songs here, again, are actually fine. They are definitely fine tracks for this band. So there really isn't very much else I can say for the Shitstormtrooper part of this split. And the same is definitely going to be said for, of course, the second half of here, which of course is Active Shooter. Now, Active Shooter is another band I am very much new to here. And these guys, I tried to look up when they were formed. I looked on their Bandcamp page, even on Discogs, but they're not much. Only that really is very much apparent is that these guys, of course, are based out of Houston, Texas. Though this is not a female-fronted power violence band, it is definitely all male, it seems to be. Now, again, when it comes to this band's brand of power violence, it seems to really have more of a grindcore influence. At least that's what it tends to be, at least noted, at least on Discogs page. Again, power violence / grind. But again, listening to these songs, it seems to be even, again, just me more hardcore punk here. A lot more hardcore punk influence here. But let me definitely go through at least the track listing here. Again, there's at least 6 songs for at least the Active Shooter portion of the split. So, track number 1 is, of course, titled Recontent. Track number 2 is titled Baron. Track number 3 is titled Shoot. Track number 4 is titled I Don't Like You. Track number 5 is titled Go Live. And track number 6 is titled Sufficient. Alright, and that, who knows, I might have, I think that is probably the best way, I think I pretty much pronounced that last track there fine enough. Again, short, but I guess in many ways, but sweet power violence. This, again, with a lot more of a hardcore punk influence, though the vocals aren't nearly as shouty. Again, I would say it has more comparisons to hardcore punk than really something, again, like metalcore. For some reason, I don't know whether or not, if power violence has a connection to metalcore, at least the early stages of metalcore, like the early era of it, when it actually had more of its hardcore punk influence. But I think in some ways, this really has more, compared to that, is even more hardcore punk influence. Definitely not bad, though. Really not bad stuff. Again, this band does have plenty of few releases, 1 EP, and actually even 1 full-length release. And again, I'll after this, of course, I will link you to, of course, Active Shooter's Bandcamp page. So, with all that said, I think, again, that there really isn't anything else I can say for this split other than these are just solid power violence material, and both these two bands definitely seem to pull off much. And since, again, this is an introduction to Active Shooter, they seem to be fine to begin with. It's definitely not bad at all. I actually didn't mind their portion of this. But both bands, I think, are solid, at least on here, and seem to really do what they do best here. And I think in many ways that these are good, just good examples, at least when it comes to at least the genre here, which I'm I'm very much just as new to the genre here, and these reviews definitely seem to show very much of that. Alright, so When it comes to, of course, obtaining this this split release for Active Shooter and Shitstormtrooper, Shitstormtrooper seems to have been the one that at least put up their portions of this split on their page, whereas Active Shooter, for some reason, these tracks aren't on their page, and I can't find Baby Rakens or even, for example, even Unnecessary Evils Bandcamp page, and it seems like even if I did, and even when trying to, again, to link you where to purchase this and even check out some of this, I can't really, so it's really kind of difficult to kind of really try and, to really kind of at least promote some of this, even though this is a very fine release. And if you ever do find this, I think maybe this is at least up on these labels, Bandcamp, at least Facebook pages. I think is what I was more so about to say. So if you're very much curious of at least these two bands, I am definitely going to be linking you to their Bandcamp pages, so you can check out these bands. But again, sadly, the tracks for Active Shooter here don't seem to really be on Active Shooter's Bandcamp page. But still, there's other stuff from them. Again, if you really dig what they do, definitely go on and support the Active Shooter. And if you really dig what Shitstormtrooper do, go on and support them. Support these two bands. All right, so there you go. There is my review, of course, for the Shitstormtrooper and Active Shooter split release. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. This is Thrashhead Sam out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.